morning, everyone. Let me assure you, I am going to deliver an extempore lecture. I am not going to make reference to any of these things. Okay. My Lord, Honorable Justice Reddy, the other dignitaries in the dais, my colleagues, invitees, parents, grandparents, above all, the amazingly talented Indian youth and representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, and I would also add fellow students of law. When I'm using this word fellow students of law, don't accuse me of originality. I'm just quoting Nani Palkhiwala, who was asked to address Ferguson College students immediately after his brilliant arguments in Keshavananda Bharati case, and the judgment in Keshavananda Bharati case was delivered. That day, the Ferguson College people invited two judges of the Supreme Court who were on the 13th bench in Keshavananda Bharati case along with Palkhiwala. And when Palkhiwala addressed the students as fellow students of law, one of the judges immediately said, you know, Nani Palkhiwala used to be endearingly referred to as Nani. People used to call him. Okay, Nani, you have argued so brilliantly in Keshavananda Bharati's case that some of us off the cuff said, it is unfortunate that only judgments of Supreme Court and High Court are recorded and published for posterity, but not the brilliant arguments of the advocates. And how much the youngsters are missing by the arguments of the young advocates not being recorded. We only wish that in future the arguments of the advocates also would be recorded. And you have delivered such a brilliant argument, and now you are calling yourself fellow student. That immediately said, my lord, youngsters are law students as long as they are on the rolls of a university. Once they walk from university to universe, a law student continues to be a student of law till he breathes his last. Therefore, I am addressing myself as fellow students, he said. And then he said, even today, my lord, when I have a matter to argue, the beauty about Palkhiwala is, even after becoming such a brilliant lawyer, he used to argue even in trial courts if the matter required it. He said, even if I were to argue in a trial court, at 10:30 in the morning, my trousers start crumbling like a first-year student. And the day on which my trousers stop crumbling, I will quit the profession, he said. Therefore, I am an eternal student of law. Hence, I have addressed you as fellow students of law. And the first thing I would do is to bow down my head in reverence to the esteemed parents whose sacrifices are primarily responsible for you being here. Please remember, why I'm saying that is, I'm picking up the gauntlet from Dr. Sarfraz Ahmad, who said, I welcome you to the family, he said. What do you mean by family? You know, the profound impact of teachers on us, I will tell you. When I was a 7-year-old boy, trying to learn alphabets and spellings in English language, my elementary school teacher said, come from A to Z you start. A for apple, B for box, C for something like that. And when F came, he said family. And like an enthusiastic 7-year-old boy, I spelt it correctly. F-A-M-I-L-Y. He asked me to repeat it. F-A-M-I-L-Y. Then he immediately, affectionately, put his fingers here on my cheek and also on my ear, said, you are not understanding. I was spelling it correctly, F-A-M-I-L-Y, and I started crying like a 7-year-old boy. Then he said, look at the beauty of the spelling. Father and mother, I love you. That is meaning of family. And to that family, Dr. Shafzad Ahmad has extended a warm welcome to you. What a wonderful name symbiosis is. Geniuses are never created in isolation. Geniuses are created through synergy and symbiosis. Please remember that. We learn from you, you learn from us to make surroundings around us more safe, more equitable, more just. Therefore, my pranams to your parents, especially to your respective mothers. Youngsters, please remember, there are 3 mothers whom you should never let down in your life. First is your biological mother who has given birth to you. Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore long ago said, God created mother maybe because he cannot be present everywhere. Mahatma Gandhi wonderfully said, I have learned the first lessons of my life from my illiterate mother. He did not say uneducated mother. No mother is uneducated. She might not have gone to a school to get formally educated. And that biological mother, you should never let her down. Just remember her sacrifices. At 7:30 in the morning when you are not willing to go to school, the attempts made by her to make you go to school while giving a cup of coffee to her spouse, medicines to her parents-in-law, all with a smile. Now, can there be a greater sacrifice? Never let down that mother. If your mother is responsible for giving birth to you, your foster mother, alma mater, symbiosis, will enable you to stand on your feet when you walk into the universe. Never let down the second mother called education institutions. The third mother is Mother India. Who cares whether you live or die if India dies? Who dies if India lives? Who lives if India dies? That was Nehru in Discovery of India. Therefore, take a pledge today. Why? To protect all these mothers. Why? Because you are going to enter the portals of an institution where training in a subject would be offered to you, which would enable you to join in a profession which is the only profession to be mentioned in the Constitution of India. Look at 395 articles and 12 schedules. No other profession is mentioned. No doctors, no engineers, but your constitutional law teacher will tell you somewhere between Article 20 and Article 22, a word called to be defended by a legal practitioner of your choice would be mentioned. So you are constitutionally ordained students, remember. And what a wonderful document that Constitution is, Justice Susan, that is I already told you. But I would add to that 2 points. When South Africa got liberated from apartheid and Nelson Mandela was entrusted with the responsibility of drafting the Constitution, he looked at all the constitutions of the world and he said the best constitution in the world is the Constitution of India. And he wanted experts from India to help him in drafting the South African constitutions for its wonderful preambular aspirational goals. Justice Sir has already told you, isn't it? Justice, social, economic and political, liberty of expression, faith, belief, thought and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and fraternity assuring the dignity of the individual. Can you have any religious document which is more sacred than this? And that Nelson Mandela said the Indian constitution is the best constitution, and he took help from Indian experts, a majority of whom were from Bangalore, including National Law School experts. Havanur went from Bangalore. He had done pioneering work for the promotion of the interests of backward classes, Havanur Commission. Then Ravi Verma Kumar went from Bangalore. Then a delegation from National Law School of India to Bangalore went and helped Mandela to draft the constitution. That is the constitution, remember. And that constitution makes a mention about legal profession. And also I will tell you, In 1947, number of countries became independent with us. Constitution were drafted in different countries, but it is only our constitution that has grown from strength to strength from 1950 to 2019. Okay, whereas the other constitutions were thrown overboard. Therefore, you are entering a world where constitutionally ordained things command you. Therefore, take a pledge to protect the interests of the Constitution. I will always tell my students, you must hold a copy of the preamble in your pocket always. And the first thing that you should do in the morning is, after getting up from the bed, look at the preamble. Ask for yourself, to what extent I have been able to fulfill the constitutional goals. If the answer is not very satisfactory, don't be dejected. Take a pledge, tomorrow the answer would be better, okay? And therefore, I congratulate you for seeking admission into that wonderful course, which will open the doors to you with constitutional justice and wisdom. The third point I would like to tell a story just to share with you, a story that was told by an American scholar, Daniel Webster, when he was asked to take part in a similar induction program in the United States Law School. The story is very interesting. He came to law school and immediately asked a question to students. Suppose you go to a countryside. In America they call it countryside, okay? In a village, as we call it. He said, in what type of buildings the courts are situated? Don't think about High Courts and Supreme Court. And immediately said, don't you think that courts, elementary schools, and post offices, normally in rural areas, are situated in dilapidated buildings, old buildings. Okay? And he said, the most common sight when you enter a court inside a village is spiders' webs. Okay, birds' nests, isn't it? And he said spider's web is metaphorical. Because if you look at the spider's web, you would understand the axiomatic truth. Only small insects get caught in it. The bigger ones escape. And he also said law is also like that. Only the small insects get caught in it, but the bigger ones escape. You must now take a pledge to see that the long arm of law, remember, must catch even the big insects, he said. Then comes the beauty. He said, also in the courtrooms, you have the nest of the birds. Pigeons will be there, mother pigeon will be there, small pigeons will be there, okay? And that will be a happy family. Mother will be going out to fetch food for a small kitten, it would share with it, okay? And one day, a pigeon from the courtroom went out to fetch food for its younger ones. It came back and it found that two of its little ones were eaten by a serpent. It's the law of ecology. Wherever you have a pigeon, you have a serpent, the serpent swallows. And like the mother, she started crying because she has lost two little ones. Then the elder ones came and started consoling. Why do you cry? You are not the first one to have lost. We have lost. It is the curse of nature. Therefore, have courage. Then the mother bird said, I know I'm not the first one to have lost. And I'm not crying because I have lost my little ones. I'm crying because where did I lose? I lost my little ones in a place where people come for justice. And if here injustice happens, where shall I go? He said. So, in a courtroom, if injustice happens, where shall I go? You are going to be the future, remember, crusaders and foot soldiers of justice. Never contribute to administration of injustice. That's the greatest pledge that you are required to today. Because you are among the 5% of the privileged few in India who are having comfortable accommodation in a AC theater at about 12 noon. listening to the pedagogy of a person masquerading as an intellectual. Okay, how many Indians have that privilege? So we have social accountability. That's what you mean by induction. Okay, and the best definition of accountability I have seen in my life is absence of arrogance and display of modesty in whatever you do is accountability. Therefore, do that. And you will be proud, this institution will be proud of you. And as a student of law, you must remember, legal profession provided the intellectual arm of our freedom struggle. Among the Constituent Assembly, more than 70% of the members were from law background. And we have a magnum opus called the Constitution of India. Therefore, be a professional in the real sense of the term. And here, let me share you, who is a professional? Normally, we the parents and grandparents, what we do is, when our children get a seat in medicine and engineering or law, we celebrate it by saying that our children got a seat in professional course. But a writer called Subrata Bakshi wrote a book, The Professional, in which he says, doctors, lawyers, engineers, chartered accountants, they are not professionals, they are only professionally qualified people. Remember. So, a professionally qualified person becomes a professional when he fulfills two qualities. Number one, he adds integrity to whatever he does. You must add integrity to whatever you do. And remember, integrity is doing the right thing when nobody is watching. When somebody is watching, if you maintain that, that's not integrity. And so you must add integrity to whatever you do. And you must be remembered by the posterity for the right reasons. Okay, even when you leave the college, people should remember you. Oh, this has been his contribution to symbiosis. Then any person would become a professional. So become true professionals. Respond to the movings of society by remembering Mother Teresa's dictum. With this I would conclude. You know what Mother Teresa said? How can you love God whom you cannot see when you cannot love human beings whom you see? How can you love God whom you cannot see when you cannot love human beings whom you see? Therefore, you must have passion for what you do and compassion for whom you do. This is very, very important. Passion for what you do and compassion for whom you do. Let me congratulate all of you. And now, at the head of the family of National Law School of India University, I have two interesting things to share with you. National Law School of India University, which was established in 1988 and is now 31 years young, because institutions never become old, they continue to be young. Human beings only become old. Has brought respect and dignity to student of law and legal profession. And every young person's dream is National Law School of India University, Bangalore. Okay. Don't worry that you have not got admitted into that. From the core of my heart, I cordially invite you to visit National Law School of India University. I will take the initiative with Shafraz Ahmad to have a MOU with him so that you can come. You can come for internship, you can come for exchange programs, because that is what you mean by symbiosis. Nothing more than that, isn't it? And therefore, this comes from the core of my heart as the head of the family. The second one I wanted to, I'll be presenting a couple of books to the Dean School of Law Symbiosis, and both these books consist of articles written by our students. The first one is the Constitutional Odyssey of the Supreme Court of India, 2018. Wonderful judgment delivered by Supreme Court of India with a foreword by Honorable Chief Justice of India, Justice Rajendra Babu. And this book consists of 22 articles, all written by our students. some of them first-year students. And the late lamented Professor Madhav Menon, who completed his voyage on 8th May, was wondering as to how first-year students could write so comprehensively. And this book I will be presenting to your director to be kept in the library. And the second one is, most of you must have heard about right to privacy judgment, Puttaswamy's case as they would like to call, that was delivered on 24th August. And when the judgment was being delivered at 11 o'clock, in the constitutional class at 11:30, we had almost a live discussion on the judgment. And immediately it was followed by a seminar, and 14 students have written an article on this. And this book also, I'll be giving it to you, your director, to be kept in the library along with our perspective. And the last word of advice to you, I quote from the preamble of the Constitution, the fundamental duties. The last but one duty says, you must strive for excellence in all spheres of activity, both individually and collectively, so that the nation rises constantly. What do you mean by excellence? Please remember, academic excellence without human excellence is disastrous. Remember. Excellence means it is not only excellence in the product, but excellence in the human being. Okay, you must all prove that education is not information, but formation. Formation of a complete human being. For this, I will just quote Swami Vivekananda and take leave of you. Swami Vivekananda was once asked by people, Swamiji, daily in the evenings, you speak to goddess. Dakshineshwar temple is there, in Kolkata. And how does she look like? Then Swamiji said, is there God? There is no God. Don't think that I'm talking to goddess. But I will answer your question in this way, he said. Perfect human being is God. And imperfect God is human being. And education is that removes those imperfections to make you perfect. So, perfect human being is God, and imperfect God is human being. And then he said, education is that bridges the distance between human beings and being human. We are all human beings, but how many of us are being human? Rishi